About a year prior to my wedding, I began observing discrepancies in the arrangement of my clothes and makeup. Items seemed to be out of place from where I had left them. Occasionally, my lingerie in the dresser appeared to have been rearranged or neatly refolded. Similarly, dresses and blouses on hangers in my closet were sometimes not positioned correctly or were hung in different spots. Initially, I dismissed these incidents, attributing them to my own carelessness in organizing my belongings. However, as time passed, I continued to notice these minor disruptions, despite my efforts to be meticulous in storing my things. The reason behind this disorder only became evident 6 months later when, one day, I quietly ascended the stairs and caught sight of my brother Jean in his room. He was wearing one of my black satin lacy slips, unaware of my presence as he believed his door was shut. However, it was slightly ajar, affording me a view of him lying on his bed, indulging in the sensation of the fabric against his skin. Instead of embarrassing him by confronting him, I silently retreated downstairs. Then, I called out loudly to announce my presence in the house, hoping to catch his attention. I heard him stir abruptly. I imagined him removing the slip, getting it back into my drawer, and then starting to get dressed in his normal clothes before he answered me. When he saw me, I noticed traces of makeup that he hadn't removed from his face. I acted as if nothing was different. My brother was 14 when I found out that he enjoyed wearing my things. We were roughly the same size, and he maintained his blonde hair at a longer length. Throughout the summer, I noticed he had minimal hair on his arms and legs. His facial features were soft, and his demeanor was notably gentle. I couldn't help but imagine him in a women's one-piece bathing suit one summer. I believe he would have carried it off wonderfully. While brothers and sisters occasionally tend to argue and disagree, this was not the case between Jean and I. He did not come off as the normal hormone-driven teen male. Instead, he had a genuine respect for all people, both male and female. This also was very evident in his dealings with me, his big sister, where he was kind and courteous, not crass and rude. If he enjoyed wearing my pretty things, I was not going to object. If there were any way that I could encourage him in these pursuits without appearing to be a bossy sister, I would have done so gladly. Nevertheless, to be of more assistance to Jean in his quest for femininity, I began leaving soft, silky items of lingerie on my bed or on my dresser. When I looked at them later, they would be in a slightly different spot or were folded differently. I was glad that Jean was enjoying these feminine delights. I would have loved to have given him a silky nightgown and have him wear it at night while he slept. That would have been too open, though. However, an idea began to form in my head that would have me help Jean to fully experience his feminine side. I would try to talk him into being one of my bridesmaids in my upcoming wedding. I spoke with Mom about this matter in a general manner. She acknowledged that some of her belongings in drawers and her closet had also been slightly disturbed. Rachel, she confided, I initially attributed it to my own forgetfulness regarding how I had left things. However, I once discovered a pair of my silky panties in your brother's room. When I confronted him, he claimed they must have clung to one of his t-shirts due to static from the dryer, and he hadn't noticed while folding his laundry. I didn't press further, finding his explanation plausible. I've also noticed my shower cap occasionally feels damp in the morning, despite not using it since the previous day. Perhaps Jean is using it since he typically showers before me. And now that you mention it, I've seen traces of makeup on his face that he hasn't completely removed. I understand that I can't just directly ask him to be my bridesmaid, I said to Mom, seeking her advice. Do you think I can approach him gently and express my desire for him to be part of my wedding as a bridesmaid? I emphasized the need for caution, expressing my love for my younger brother and my desire not to cause him any harm. I've even left some of my lingerie out for him to find easily, I added. Mom approved of my approach and suggested we carefully broach the subject with Jean. She proposed getting attire and accessories in his size without revealing our plans until the last moment. I suggested explaining that one of my bridesmaids eloped, leaving a gap in the bridal party, making him my last option. If possible, I hoped he would agree to fill in as my bridesmaid. Mom had all of Jean's measurements on hand, making it easy to order the gown, lingerie, and shoes. We took care of this during one of my wedding gown fittings. The sales assistant mentioned that while it was unusual to order a bridesmaid's gown without a fitting, it had happened before. We expressed gratitude for her help and placed the order, also arranging for the shoes to be dyed to match. Since the lingerie was available in stock, we included it in our purchase. Following my final fitting, I collected both my wedding gown and Jean's bridesmaid dress. I realized that if Jean was going to be my bridesmaid, I needed to think of him as a girl. After some consideration, I settled on the name Mia for her. Instead of revealing Jean's true identity, I decided to introduce her as my cousin from out of town. With everything prepared, I hoped to persuade Jean to fulfill this role. During the wedding rehearsal, it was evident that the two ushers and the best men outnumbered my maid of honor and bridesmaid. I explained that my other bridesmaid had informed me she would arrive too late for the rehearsal. Upon returning home, I let Jean go upstairs ahead of me before feigning distress. Hearing my commotion, he rushed to see what was wrong. "Rachel, what's the matter? Are you all right? You sound like it's the end of the world," he exclaimed. "For me, it feels like it," I sobbed. "My dream wedding is ruined. Linda called to say she can't be in the wedding, she and her boyfriend eloped. Now I'm short one bridesmaid. Everything's thrown off balance." Mom observed with amusement as Jean tried to comfort me. "Rachel, isn't there anyone else who could fill in?" he asked. "Not at this late hour," I lamented. "None of my other friends match Linda's height and build. Is there anything we can do?" Jean inquired, unknowingly striking a chord. His words sparked a glimmer of hope, and I looked at him closely. "You know, you're about the same height and build as Linda. Maybe you could stand in as my bridesmaid. Would you do it for me? You're my last chance. Without you, my wedding will be ruined. Please, will you help me? Please?" My plea was heartfelt, for both our sakes. I sensed a flicker of excitement in Jean as he pondered my proposal. "Rachel, I want to help you, but I'm a guy. People would know I'm a guy in a dress. I don't think I could handle being laughed at or talked about behind my back. And how would you introduce me?" "This is my brother Jean, wearing a gown as my bridesmaid," he expressed his concerns. I tried to reassure him, dismissing his worries. I pointed out his soft facial features and gentle mannerisms, noting that with his hair color and length, he could easily pass as an attractive girl. As for introductions, I suggested he could be my cousin Mia from out of town, stepping in as an emergency replacement for one of my bridesmaids. His eyes lit up at the idea of being called Mia. At that moment, Mom gently chimed in to support my persuasion of Jean. She agreed with my sentiments and expressed confidence in Mia's potential as an attractive young lady. "Rachel, I'm worried I'll look like a boy in a dress," he admitted. "But for your sake and to salvage your wedding, I'll give it a shot. I just hope I don't stand out too much," he added. His agreement filled me with joy, prompting me to embrace him tightly. I assured him that both Mom and I would ensure he looked great. "We'll have a lovely young lady named Mia as my bridesmaid," I declared. "Just wait and see how pretty she'll be." I also informed Mia that my hairstylist would assist with our hair and makeup in the morning. I reminded her to wash her hair before bed and leave it damp, then to apply scented bath powder generously once dry. After donning lingerie and a robe, Mary would take care of her hair and makeup. "Mia, thank you for stepping in and saving the day. You're a true gem. Are you ready to transform into Mia?" I asked, to which he nodded. Leading him to my room, I retrieved an ankle-length pink satin nightgown with spaghetti straps, a matching robe, and pink slippers for him to wear. Handing them to him, I instructed him to change while I did the same. A few minutes later, Mom and I joined Mia in her room. I was dressed in a lilac satin nightgown, robe, and slippers, while Mom wore a blue satin ensemble. Mia had already changed into her nightgown, robe, and slippers and was seated on the edge of her bed. We decided it was best to paint Mia's fingernails and toenails now rather than waiting until tomorrow. Mia sat attentively as we attended to her hands and feet. While I worked on her toenails, Mom focused on her fingernails. Once we finished, Mia's nails gleamed with several coats of bright pink polish. They looked stunning. Earlier in the day, I had treated myself to a manicure and pedicure, leaving my nails adorned with a vibrant red polish. I noticed Mia admiring them as I painted hers. We chatted as we reminded Mia not to touch anything until her nails were completely dry. After giving her a warm hug, we bid her good night and reassured her that tomorrow would be a big day for all of us. "Good night, little sister," I said. "Sweet dreams." "Good night, big sister," Mia replied. I hope to sleep well tonight in my pretty nightgown. Tomorrow would indeed be significant for all of us. By the time I got up the next morning, Mom had already taken her shower. Mary had done her hair and makeup and she sat there with a plastic hairdryer bonnet over her rollers while drying. I quickly showered and then started to get dressed. I put on my white satin garter belt, lacy white satin panties, white bridal stocking with wedding bell and dove appliques, and my matching lacy white satin bra. I slipped on my white satin robe and went to have Mary start on my appearance. I also made sure that Mia was up and taking her shower. Mia bounced out of her room on my first call, greeted me with a hug and went to take her shower. Mom had already been combed out when I got downstairs. While Mary did my hair and makeup, Mom helped Mia get ready. While my lingerie was white satin, Mia's was pink satin with stockings. Mom helped Mia with her bra and then put 2 silicone forms in the cups to give her a nice full A cup of a 14-year-old girl. Mia came downstairs while I had the plastic hairdryer bonnet over my rollers. She looked so young and feminine in her robe and lingerie. I smiled at her to reassure her. Mary went right to work, rolling up Mia's hair. She then did her makeup befitting the innocence of a 14-year-old girl. The pink blush and lipstick matched the color of her nail polish. Mary had applied only a touch of eyeshadow to Mia's eyelids and a little mascara to her lashes. While I was being combed out, Mia sat under the dryer. Before she turned it on, I told her how pretty she looked even with her hair in rollers. Mia smiled at my compliment. After Mary finished styling Mia's hair, including a generous application of hairspray, we expressed our gratitude to her. She assured us she'd be available at the church for any last-minute makeup touch-ups. Mom and I then assisted Mia in getting dressed. "First, I'll help you into your bridesmaid's gown, and then you can help me into my wedding gown," I instructed her, to which Mia nodded in agreement. We began by having her put on her 4-inch heels and practice walking in them. Next, she wore her ankle-length pink satin slip, followed by securing her crinoline around her waist. Finally, Mia donned her bridesmaid's gown of pink satin with cap sleeves, with Mom assisting in zipping up the back. Mom then pinned her headpiece in Mia's hair. Completing her ensemble were a pearl necklace, clip-on pearl cluster earrings, and short white gloves. Seeing her reflection in the mirror, Mia was overcome with awe. I reassured her that she looked stunning. "Mia, you look absolutely beautiful in pink," I complimented her, and her face lit up with a radiant smile. Now it was Mom and Mia's turn to assist me. The process mirrored Mia's earlier preparations, but in white. Slip, heels, and crinoline were swiftly put in place. They then helped me into my wedding gown, a creation of white satin and lace featuring short sleeves, a full skirt, a sweetheart neckline, and a train. With care, Mom fastened each button up the back of my gown. I settled in front of my vanity as Mia fetched my veil. Mom delicately pinned it to my hair while Mia aided in straightening out my train. "Rachel, you look absolutely radiant." "Every bride should be as stunning as you are," Mia complimented me, causing me to blush. I responded by suggesting that one day she might wear a wedding gown and radiate beauty just like I was doing now. "Rachel, I'd be happy just to look a fraction as beautiful as my big sister," she replied, prompting me to reach out and hug her warmly. At that point, the other 2 attendants and the photographer were waiting downstairs. Mom assisted Mia in descending first and then aided me. The photographer captured several bridal portraits before proceeding to photograph the bridal party. During the group shots, Mia stood beside me, embodying the perfect image of a young bridesmaid. I made sure the photographer took individual portraits of my maid of honor and bridesmaids, with a special focus on Mia. Multiple shots were taken of Mia alone, and she radiated with the attention. Mom seemed elated, embracing her new daughter. The limo arrived to transport us to the church. It was a bit challenging for us all to get inside, particularly with our full-skirted gowns and crinolines. Upon arrival at the church, we entered through a side door into a spacious waiting room for the bridal party. Mia glanced at me, expressing her nerves. "I feel like everyone is staring, knowing I'm a boy in a dress," she confided. "I'm so nervous." "Relax," I reassured her. "No one will suspect a thing. Just take your escort's arm and walk gracefully into the church." Mia appeared reassured until she heard the opening notes of the wedding march. A quick glance from her and a reassuring smile from me helped calm her nerves. Stepping forward to take her escort's arm, she suddenly noticed his good looks, which further eased her tension. As she made her entrance, she adopted the slow, measured pace typical of bridesmaids throughout history, as if it were instinctual. Mom escorted me down the aisle to give me away in marriage. Throughout the ceremony, I kept an eye on Mia, ensuring she was comfortable. She seemed to radiate happiness. However, as my groom and I shared our first kiss as husband and wife, I distinctly heard a sigh from Mia. I could imagine the dreamy expression on her face. Following the recessional, Mia joined the receiving line beside me, smiling and greeting the guests. Multiple times, I mentioned how Mia had stepped in at the last minute to save the day. Many guests complimented her on her beauty as a bridesmaid. Mia blushed and graciously thanked each person for their kind words. During the reception, Mia moved gracefully, embodying the poise of a refined young lady, as if unlocking some innate quality within herself. When it was time, she joined the other single girls to vie for the catching of my bouquet. Before I turned to toss it, I noticed Mia positioned to one side, prompting me to aim the toss in her direction. Fortunately, she caught it. As a tradition, she was now obligated to dance with the man who caught the bridal garter, who happened to be the same handsome escort from earlier. In his arms, she appeared to relax. Later, she confided in me, questioning whether it was improper to have enjoyed being held by her escort. I reassured her that for the day, she embodied the essence of a beautiful and feminine young lady, encouraging her to revel in the experience of femininity. Her smile in response warmed my heart, as I delighted in witnessing her embrace her new identity and the softness of her attire. It was finally time for my groom and I to depart for our honeymoon. Before we did leave, I managed a few quiet moments with Mia. "Rachel, I just want to thank you for this wonderful day. I am glad that I was able to be a part of this special day in a small but special way. I am lucky to have a big sister like you." I quietly told Mia that I was glad that I had her for my little sister and what a lifesaver she had been today, standing in as an emergency bridesmaid. I was glad that she had enjoyed herself. I then told her that, while I was gone, she was free to wear anything in my closet or in my drawers. However, until I returned, she could not wear any of my makeup. As her big sister, I wanted to teach her how to wear it properly. Mia nodded in understanding. She asked if we could go shopping for things for Mia when I returned. I said that I would look forward to the day. She would wear a soft and frilly dress and the appropriate lingerie for our day of shopping. I also told her that I might schedule her for an appointment for a permanent and hair coloring with Mary. She was thrilled with that. Just before we departed, I proposed to Mia that once I returned home, she could wear my bridal gown and veil and experience being a bride for the day. "Would you do that for me?" she asked eagerly. "That would be so special." "I'd love to," she replied. I also suggested that although I wasn't a professional, I could take photos of her as a bride, which she enthusiastically agreed to. "I have one condition," I added. "Before you put on my gown, you must wear a sanitary pad in case of any accidents." I'd do anything to wear your bridal gown, Mia assured me. Furthermore, I mentioned that I would also procure for her a white satin negligee set similar to the one I would be wearing later that evening. She smiled gratefully and thanked me for the gesture. There's a royal blue satin teddy in my bottom drawer that you might enjoy wearing. Make sure to fasten the snaps at the bottom to fully appreciate the sensual feel of the satin against your skin, I suggested to Mia. I will, Mia replied. Also, there's a pink satin baby doll nightgown under my pillow that would look lovely on you. Why not wear it tonight and imagine what I'm doing on my honeymoon? I added. Mia agreed to wear it and assured me she would have pleasant dreams. We shared one final hug. Mia, I hope you'll always be like a little sister to me, I said, noticing tears of happiness welling up in her eyes. Rachel, I'm so fortunate to have a big sister like you. I love you. I can't wait to wear your wedding gown and be the bride. Thank you for all the wonderful experiences today. Take care of yourself, she expressed gratefully. I helped her dab away the tears before they could ruin her makeup. As I left, I reflected on the happiness of the day. Mom had seen her eldest daughter happily married, I was with the one I loved, and Mom gained a new daughter while I gained a new little sister. I looked forward to guiding Mia as she discovered the woman within herself.